Good evening. It's 7 o'clock, so I think we'll make a start. Just welcome to officers, members of the committee, and the public who are here tonight for Hounslow Planning Committee. We've got a busy agenda this evening, and we'll start with apologies for absence.
Councillor Pritam Garrawal and Councillor Mir may be a little bit late.
Thank you. And go on to declarations of interest. Has anyone got any declaration to declare? Councillor Todd.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I've got item 6. You'll see I've called it in. I've dealt with my residents and others. They've advised me as to their view. They provided documents which they've circulated. So I formed a view with advice that I'm not predetermined, but I have facilitated rather than imposed. So I've checked that with a legal advisor, and I think you accept that. Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Todd.
Yes.
Councillor Batty.
Thank you, Chair. Just received several emails from different people. Visited site Hounslow West. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Lamb.
I'm afraid, Chair, same again. I can confirm that I've had an email from Seema Malhotra, MP, and also an email from Gerard Coburn from MPC.
Thank you. Councillor Todd. Chair.
Yeah, item 4, I took part in a site visit, and I've had emails from various parties on it. Also, item 6, I've also received emails on the Griffin Brewery one from both sides.
Councillor Barron.
Yes, I think I've had the same emails as everyone else. I've done a site visit at all of them and spoken to some people I've met on the street, asked their opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Barron. Councillor Video.
Thank you, Chair. Like my colleagues, I've also received various emails from both residents and the MP.
I think we probably all have. I have as well. Councillor Lukey.
I've visited the Hounslow West site and land at Nursery Close and at the Griffin Brewery. Land at Oakley Close. Well, we know that's not going to be heard tonight. Thank you for deferring that.
Thank you, Councillor Lukey. Yes, just before we continue on the agenda tonight. Oh, we want to do the minutes first. Fine. Okay. Minutes of the last meeting. Does anyone? Oh. Councillor Joseph.
Same here. I would have said some females. Yeah.
Okay. The minutes of the last meeting. Is everyone happy with the minutes as they were circulated?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you. So on the agenda tonight, just to confirm, so we'll start with Hounslow West Underground Station, but as for other items, we are deferring item 7, land at Oakley Coast, to a future meeting. And we're also, in light of sort of recent legal considerations, deferring the Griffin Brewery application from tonight. So that needs to be looked at in more detail, and so that will not be on tonight's agenda. I thought I'd announce that now because I'm aware that some people were here for that, so apologies. Yeah, this has just come to light now, so that's why we're deferring it. I'm going to hand you over to our legal advisor.
Certain information has come in respect of highways that there is a public right of way. So we need to determine that and look into that as to whether it's a planning consideration and make amendments to the report as necessary. So we wouldn't be doing a very good job if we were to hear it today because it needs further investigation.
As I said, it's recently come to light. It's literally within the last 10 minutes. So we are where we are, I'm afraid. But I do apologies for the inconvenience. Thank you. Yes. That's fine. We'll reconvene in 2 minutes. Okay. Yep, no problem, Councillor. Are we all ready to reconvene? Okay. So just to confirm then, that leaves us with 2 items on the agenda tonight. Hounslow West Underground Station, followed by the land at Nursery Close in Feltham. We have speakers for item 4, and I think this is probably a good time to say this is, of course, a publicly open meeting, but it's not open to the public to speak. So there are designated speakers. Councillors can speak, obviously, and then the speakers on my list, but if everybody else could please not shout out from the back, that would be great. So let's start on item 4. Page 12. So the officers are going to start by giving us a brief overview of the application.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Matthew Rees. I'm the Head of Development Management. Apologies for the cold. If you haven't already noticed, I've got one, so I hope I don't come from over too nasally. So this is Hounslow West Underground Station. I'm guessing most people know where the application site is, but I'll use this first slide just to give a bit of context for the surrounding area. So Hounslow West is clearly outlined in red on that plan. I'm just going to point out to the south of the site is just over the road is where the ex-Morrison supermarket was. So that's recently been redevelopment, I think recently completed for the provision of new homes. Further to the south, clearly outlined there is Beaversfield Park. That's going to come up later as an issue. And then just to the south of Beaversfield Park is the Hounslow Cavalry Barracks, where you'll recollect recently we approved a scheme for upwards of 1,500 new homes. A little bit more detail on the application site. So this is within Heston Central Ward. Hounslow West station is outlined in red. The station building is a grade 2 listed building, and broadly most of that site is used for surface level car park with the station building to the front of the site. The only other designation is a site of importance to nature conservation, which is just to the northeast. So that's the lightly shaded green area of that plan. Going to run through a few photos, although I know most of you are familiar with the site, but this is the front of the site. So that's looking at the grade 2 listed building from the side of Bath Road. And then we're going to work our way around. So Vicarage Farm Road is the road that runs to the west of Hounslow West Station off Bath Road. And those are views down the side of Vicarage Farm Road. We're now looking at the station site from Ambassador Close, which is the road that runs to the north, to the rear of the train station site. And again, from Ambassador Close, looking towards the parking area within the station complex. And then going inside the station itself, looking at the existing walkway, some internal pictures of the grade 2 listed building, more pictures of the access to the platforms. And then again, back to Vicarage Farm Road with a slightly closer look at the properties on Vicarage Farm Road. So to the left-hand side, I think you're actually on Concord Close, looking down towards Vicarage Farm Road. And then I've gone to the other side. So Cranston Close is the road to the east of the site. So these are properties on Cranston Close and showing where they are in relation to the site. And then we are back onto Bath Road, looking towards Cranston Close and 333 Bath Road, which is the recent development building to the east of the site. That road is also going to be the access to the site as well. So this is the proposed site plan. So this is an application for 348 new homes, of which 131 will be shared ownership, 217 will be affordable rent. So this is a 100% affordable housing scheme, together with some retail space, commercial area at ground floor level, 29 blue badge parking spaces, 38 short stay parking spaces on the site. And so this is the basement plan. So you're looking at the station area to the bottom left of that side, and then some parking, shared parts, services at basement level. Moving up to the ground floor plan, the light pink is the TfL, the station area. The slightly darker pink, sorry, it's not particularly clear there, is cafes. And then the darker shade of pink, reddish pink is the retail area. And then the purples, greens and light blues are the residential units, the new homes. And then we're working our way up through the site. So this is a slightly clearer picture in terms of you can see where the amenity space and surface level car parking is. So the surface level parking is to the northeast of the site. There's actually a better slide for the amenity space, so I'll leave it for that one to show you that. And then we're going to work our way up through the floors. So you can clearly see this is in 4 separate buildings on the site, slightly joined at ground floor level. So moving up through the floors. You can see the termination points in some of the buildings. So we're up to 8 stories at this point, 9 stories, 10 stories, 9th floor, and then 10th floor. So that's 11 stories. And then the top floor. So this is a slightly more detailed floor plan of the actual station itself. This is quite important because we're putting in front of you an application not just for planning permission, but for listed building consent for alterations to the station building, and that involves the demolition of the passage area that you can see to the right-hand side there, and the redevelopment of that. The amenity space, so this is slightly clearer in showing you where the main areas of the amenity space are. So it's the orange and yellow shaded areas there. And then you can see there's a public space to the southern side, the kind of grey shaded area, and then the parking areas to the north. And then the site of importance for nature conservation is the green area to the east, to the right-hand side of that plan, which is also open to residents. And then this is the proposed heights of the building. So this also gives you an idea of how it fits in context of the surrounding area, proximity to neighbouring buildings and the existing station building. I'll linger on it a little bit, but broadly, Block B is to the left-hand side. That's between 7 and 12 stories. Block A is 4 to 7 stories, so that's to the rear. Block C is 7 to 12 stories, and Block D is 3 to 8 stories. And then some visuals. So you're looking at from Bath Road, you obviously can see the train station, the underground station to the front, and then that is Block B you're looking at there. The tall bit is within Block B. I think it hides away Block A, and then Block D to the right-hand side. And I will move through them just to give you an idea of the materials, the palette of materials, the appearance of them. You can see that there's a fair amount of landscaping around the periphery of the site as well. Okay, moving through it. So this is the junction with Bath Road and Vicarage Farm Road to the south and western side of the site. And moving through inside the site. from Nursery Close. So that's just taking a step back next to where the new Morrison's redevelopment is down that road. And then from Bath Road looking west. Oh, and then, yeah, again, within the site looking towards Block C. We've included a plan here just showing the distance between the property and neighbouring properties, and you can see some pinch points there. So the smallest distance is just over 11 metres between the proposed buildings and neighbouring buildings. And then what we have here are some views from generally sensitive areas. So you can see a CGI image of the proposal from the Cavalry Barracks site. This is the parade ground within the Cavalry Barracks site. And then a wireframe image from St. Paul's conservation area, St. Paul's Close, which is to the east of the site. So we're looking west from the east of the site there. And then from Beesford Seal Park, so just to the south and side, you can see the CGI view of the buildings there. And that concludes the presentation. So if that's okay, Chair, I'll leave it at that, and then more substantive after speakers.
Thank you, Matthew. I will now open it up to questions from councillors. Please be minded, this is the section to clarify points on the application itself. If you have debate points, that's for the later bit of the meeting. Councillor Lukey.
Yeah, thank you for that, Matthew. Well, tell me what the local plan says in terms of heights, maximum heights of buildings in Hounslow West, please.
So it classifies tall buildings, and then it suggests areas where they'd be suitable. I'm going to go over to the London plan as well, which suggests that tall buildings should be a plan-led process. So you should be allocating sites for tall buildings. So this does have a site allocation on it for 360 new buildings. We've got our emerging character and design study as well, which suggests that this is a site suitable for taller buildings. So sorry, I've skipped over the local plans somewhat because these new documents are 6-7 years later down the line. The London plan in particular is adopted last year, so it's slightly more pertinent to this application than the local plan.
So what's the difference between the local plan and the new London plan in terms of heights?
So the local plan talks of town centre locations for new buildings, for tall buildings. It clarifies what they are, and then it talks about them being wayfinding buildings, so buildings used for wayfinding and such. So it's slightly more defined within the London plan than it is in the local plan.
So is this a town centre? I thought we only had the 4 town centres: Chiswick, Brentford, Feltham.
Yeah, this is a neighbourhood centre.
The other one.
This is not a town centre. This is a neighbourhood centre. Yeah.
Right. So it's not a town centre. So is this still relevant to a neighbourhood centre? So could you put this sort of buildings up in Isleworth?
No, yeah,
Road?
that's fair to say. So as I say, the policies have moved on somewhat since then. So we've got a site allocation now within the emerging local plan reviews that suggests 360 properties is suitable for this site. And as I say, a new London plan, which is also very pertinent to this.
Councillor Batty.
Thank you, Chair. Matt, could you confirm that B, C and D are ground floor is all commercial, or?
Not all commercial. Sorry, I'll flick back to the slide that showed it because so B, C and D, C at the back, you can see those, sorry, C is the one kind of middle right. That has the cafe, the pink area, which is the kind of semicircle pink area. Those are new homes. The purple, green and light blue, and then block D to the bottom right, the light blue and the light green are homes as well.
So there is no commercial?
There is commercial, sorry. So the pinky reddy areas, they're all commercial.
On the Bath Road, right?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Todd.
Thanks very much. I'm looking at page 4 of the addendum report, Mr. Rees. I've read most of the papers on this, and there's a highlight on parking.
Classified as a neighbourhood centre.
So when you say that existing car park to visit the neighbourhood centre, you're implying that they're shopping or with residents or what?
Sorry, yeah, that's so all of the facilities within the neighbourhood centre.
No, but there's you've done a survey with London Transport just saying, if I can simplify it, that a lot of people park near the station, but they're not sustainable because there are other ways of getting in without using their car. And so I'm trying to drill in here. These people you allude to parking here.
The service that TfL undertook, the different on-station users.
Correct, yes.
So assuming, like, I think in the weekday 92% were station users, we're assuming that the 8% obviously weren't not station users, therefore they would be doing something in the local area. So we presume that they're making use of all the facilities, shop services in the local area, could potentially be visiting people as well.
Okay, that's clear. And why are we still waiting for the number of spaces still to be determined?
If it's okay, Councillor, I'll take that one. So the addendum, I should mention, I was going to mention this a little bit later, but I'll do this now. As part of the recommendation, we are asking authorities to be delegated back to us to sort out some transport matters that haven't been resolved in advance of this meeting. So apologies for that there were some time constraints associated with it. So what we've done in the addendum is try to specify to you exactly what we expect to happen before that can be delegated to us. So we've tried to almost spell out to you, this is what needs to be done. And then we are asking if you delegate us the tick box exercise afterwards, if you agree with what's in the addendum, for us to then go on to secure it as part of revised plans and information presented to us.
It's very clear on page 6, but I've never seen that before. Such a huge list of things to be delegated to officers who present it before us. It's almost a contradiction. Are we setting a precedent here, or is that...
It's very rare. It has been presented to you before somewhat. Last time I think was about 5 years ago though, sorry. But just to reiterate, so what we're trying to do is almost presenting to you a scheme that has these things in it and asking you to agree to those things so that we can secure them. If it's not as spelt out in this addendum report, then we don't have delegated authority anymore. So we'd have to come back to yourselves for that permission.
Councillor Shrouter.
Yeah, thanks very much. Incredibly comprehensive report, but I suppose it's coming a little bit towards the ground that Councillor Todd was talking about. I know it's in the report, but just for clarity, can we just expand on it a little bit more? The area is well served. It rates quite highly for public transport. Am I right in saying that?
Yeah, so it's close to the highest level you would expect, broadly because of the tube station, which is directly underneath it. So this is generally where you would endeavour to direct new development.
That was my reading, but I just thought we'd get that. And the other thing, and once again, it plays slightly to the point made by Councillor Todd, but once again, my reading of it, the car park, that many people who use the car park, the survey shows that they live quite close to the station, so they're driving relatively short distances, and some of those who drive longer distances actually drive past many other transport hubs on their way for some reason to get to the Hounslow one. So removing that car park is what I'm trying to get to, I suppose, is would not have the devastating effect that one might initially assume by reading the headline.
Yes, I mean, that's the reason for the recommendation. Yes, so this is an opportunity to encourage new sustainable forms of transportation and the stop reliance on cars when they aren't necessary.
One second, John. Dan had his hand up, but I'll come to you next.
So is just a quick supplementary on that. I mean, maybe it's a question for Kieran, but is there a possibility that it might decrease congestion if we remove the car park?
That's what the trip generation does suggest, that there will be fewer trips because the car park the long stay car park will be removed.
Just to pick up on reading the
relocation strategy. So there's a condition that seeks to secure the market relocation strategy, which the applicant Transport for London will be obliged to endeavour to make best means for relocation of the market.
Thank you. Any other questions, or are we ready to move on? Yeah, okay. I think we're going to move on to speakers next. Just quickly, welcome to Councillor Butt. Unfortunately, of course, you weren't, because you were late, you won't be able to vote in this item. Can I call up the ward councillors, please? Councillors Growell and Councillor Chopper. Welcome both. Just to confirm, you have 5 minutes between you, and the time will be kept, and you'll be told when you have 30 seconds to go and when time's up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm Shivraj Garewal, councillor for Heston Central Ward, and I'm here as a ward councillor and not as a cabinet member, and residents have asked me to advocate their concerns. I will be listing all these concerns in bullet points. First is the overdevelopment of the local area. Second is loss of 320 car parking spaces, which will lead to non-resident hogging local parking base between 1700 hours and 9:30 weekdays and indeed all day on weekends. Hounslow West is already congested. This proposed development will further add to the significant increase in traffic jams, creating noise and air pollution along Vicarage Farm Road and the Bath Road. Poor air quality will lead to incidences in lung cancer, which within the local community. Increased vandalism, burglaries, and fly tipping with police and enforcement resources already at the breaking point. Loss of privacy and overlooking onto the neighboring properties. Highway safety is concerned. The proposed development will be an eyesore and overshadowing. Deprivation of weekend local market that has existed for over 4 decades, which is much loved by the community. Several constrained utilities as this is already a water constraint scarce area with shortage, which will be made critical by further growing population density. You may or may not be aware, to the committee I'm saying that, few years back there was an application to build a hotel on this proposed site, which was refused by the committee. However, we are unable to trace this application on the council website. This is not called regeneration. This site is a commercial site and should be developed as a commercial hub creating jobs. We would recommend more appropriate site with open spaces. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me to speak. I'm Bana Chopra, Councillor Bana Chopra for Hounslow West. And although the site isn't in Hounslow West, it's the adjoining boundary of my ward. And basically, I've come here to speak because many of my residents have written to me and are not happy about this application. The MP has also written in opposition to this application, has noted many points, and I think she sent emails to all of you. There's been over 1,000 signatures collected in opposition to this application on petitions online as well as on paper form. From what we've seen, there will be many blocks of flats and there'll be 8 stories high. At present, I think the highest buildings are 8 stories, and going to 12 stories is making it very overdeveloped and unsightly, we feel. The loss of parking, which will be down significantly from about 400 spaces. This will affect people with limited mobility, parents and workers who need to use vehicles and park locally. The area is already overcrowded and congested, and so even less parking will increase these problems. There'll be overdensity of population as well. Loss of the weekend market. There's nowhere for these traders to go. Where will they take their businesses? They have a loss of business and there'll be less options for the residents. At present, there's no alternate relocation site given. The impact on local schools and health systems. This will be reduced. The provisions will be reduced for existing residents and worsen access for services for residents. There will be no new schools built as a result of this, no new nurseries, no new GP services, which are all critical for the area and already overused and great demand. The police and services in the area are already overstretched. The large development will add further strain to these services and cause more antisocial behaviour incidents. There's already been a number of incidents in the area of knife attacks and various other incidents in Beaversfield Park, and the Friends of Beaversfield Park have objected to this
30 seconds to go.
Application. So all in all, we feel it'll cause more antisocial behaviour incidents and be more dangerous and give less services to the local residents. Thank you.
Thank you both. If you wouldn't mind staying where you are, we'll now have questions from councillors to you about what you've said. Councillor Baring.
Could you just unpack a bit why you think this development will lead to an increase in antisocial behaviour?
Councillor Dan, I live in that area, and there has been already developments being done in that area at the old Morrison site. And since the development has been there, there has been more antisocial behavior, and there have been incidents of stabbing because the area has been built in such a way. And I had a visit the other day there, and with my colleague, Councillor Tony Luki, and he's also seen the way these places have been built, and it is overdeveloped.
I completely appreciate what you're saying, and that one development's led to increased antisocial behaviour. But what is it about this development that you think? Is it that any new development would cause antisocial behaviour, or
Because the area is too congested and is overpopulated.
it's the increase in people?
Yes.
Banner, did you want to?
No, I thoroughly agree with that. And there isn't really any kind of recreational areas they've given as part of this development. There's nowhere for people to go, just live in high-rise flats and blocks. It will increase congestion. It will increase people's value of living, I feel.
Thank you. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Chair. Councillor Grewal, as somebody who lives in the ward and is a ward councillor for the ward, I'd like to know a bit more about the consultation process that took place. Were you consulted on the development? When you speak to other residents, what's the general feel surrounding this development?
Okay. Thank you, Councillor. Consultation was taken place. Consultation took place before COVID. It took place in Kingsway, Tandoori, and there were not many people who attended it because I believe this is what the residents have told me, that they were not consulted and letters were not sent to them. And there were other consultations done. One was done in Treaty Center, which is out of the way. The consultations should be done in a local area, not far away from where the development has to take place. And I live only, say, 300 yards from where the development is going to take place. And being honest, people on my road, and you live there, I'm pretty sure you did not receive it.
That's all. Thanks.
Councillor Stroud-Tip.
Yeah, thank you very much, both of you. That was obviously doing what a good ward councillor should be doing, representing the views of the residents. If we could just look at a couple of things you've said. One of them, I think you'd agree with me, leads us to dangerous ground, that any development leads to antisocial behaviour, because we are where we are in London. We need more accommodation. We've got a growing population. Therefore, not giving them decent accommodation, not giving people good places to live is more likely, actually, the evidence suggests, to lead to antisocial behaviour. So this is actually relieving some of that tension. But putting that to one side, and I appreciate that you weren't involved in it, but when we looked at the cavalry barracks, which is just over the way, as you'll be aware, and the antisocial behaviour in Beaversfield Park was actually brought to the front of, and it was discussed, what was said there, that they thought that that development, and ironically this development, which was mentioned, will help reduce it because it will increase the footfall. There's an expectation that more CCTV will be put in. And the other thing the report says, I believe if I've read it, that the police were involved in this, and it's actually having crime designed out of it, not actually crime designed in. So how do you feel that this is going to attract more CCTV and it actually designs crime out rather than designs crime in?
See, there is an overdevelopment in this area within 500 yards. There will be around about 2,000 flats. Right, and I'm not finished yet.
I wasn't going to jump in,
the
don't
other
worry.
thing is, you say it will be more CCTVs there. Does it say in the planning
Yes.
application? But that's the feeling of the residents, and the crime rate has gone up in that area, and the residents are not happy about it.
Excuse me, I'm
Thank you,
afraid
sir.
you're not allowed to do that. The conversation's over here. We're not allowed to participate. Councillor Todd.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna, never mind.
Thanks very much.
Does anyone know that there's been four
No, I'm
surveys
sorry, sir. You're not allowed to
since
speak. I'm sorry, sir.
4 weeks?
Sir,
Does anyone
if you
know-
want to keep doing that, we'll have to ask you to leave. We'll have to remove you. This is not a public meeting where anyone can shout out anything they want. This is the planning committee meeting. The planning committee makes the decisions. The designated speakers on our list are the people who are allowed to speak for and against, and you're allowed to watch but not to participate. Please no shouting out. Councillor Todd.
Yeah, thanks very much. I'm very conscious of your local knowledge and your expertise, but I just want to put that to one side and see what's being offered and probe you a bit, if you wouldn't mind. Over 100 affordable properties, that's quite spectacular. And some of these are very large flats. And as you both know, we all know, they're the sizes that are desperately needed. You mentioned it's a commercial site. I'm not quite sure. Can I push you on that bit? Ask you what do you mean by a commercial site? And just probe a couple of things you said, or both of you said. You said there was inadequate parking for mobility issues. I think there's a large number of blue badge bays provided, so that school provision you mentioned. I'm a school governor, I declare that, of Chiswick School. We're following the primary sector very closely. Last year, the numbers are materially reducing of primary school pupils, and they've gone down by at least 500. So I'm pushing you a bit to sort of get more. Okay, thank you.
I'm not against the corporate plan to build flats, but the residents feel that that's not the right place, because more or less it is a commercial place. There are shops there, and the plans even show that there's not enough amenity space or playing space for there are going to be children there, right? And the other thing is, there are at the moment around about 400 car parking spaces. We will be losing 320 spaces, and those people who are traveling from far distances to travel on Piccadilly line to go to London, because there was a question asked earlier that there are other hubs they are missing in coming, what Councillor Stroud said. Yeah, okay, but the thing is Hatton Cross, right? But the thing is, where will at the moment what's happening is people are hogging in car parks to the roads adjacent to the station, and it's creating a nuisance. And the other thing we say is we are not going to issue them residence permit. You may not offer them residence permit, but you cannot refuse them to own a car. Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
just to pick up
Oh, go
on
on,
what
madam.
my colleague was saying, where will those car users go when they have no residence permits, but they do have cars? They will impinge on all the local roads and annoy the neighbours, the existing neighbours. And it's already pressurised enough with double yellow lines and residents parking. So that doesn't help the area, it just adds more congestion. And to answer something that John asked earlier on, John Stroud, there might be extra affordable homes, but they're not putting in any kind of amenities for recreation. So people living in high-rise blocks, where will they go? A lot of the spaces are, as my colleague has said, are small flats with small children. Where are they expected to go? And it's a very built-up area. So how does that help the area? How do we get them extra provisions, a nice home, a nice environment, gardens to play in, extra GPs that already at the moment, when I live in the area and I try and apply for a GP's appointment, I have to wait 2 or 3 weeks this will just further exacerbate the problem.
Thank you. Councillor Atwell, you wanted to, Atwell here?
Yeah, just wanted to ask with the newly developed Morrison site, is that currently having an impact on the surrounding roads as well? Because I understand it's a car-free development.
Yeah, that is as well. That is also a car-free development. You're right.
And I just wanted to second what you said about GP appointments, oversubscribed schools and stuff. So why hasn't something been put in place?
Exactly. That's what we're saying. It needs to have those sort of provisions also for the local community, for local infrastructure. You can't just put in blocks of flats and give them nothing else.
Okay. If there are no further questions on this. Oh, there are. Okay, last two, and then we need to move on. Councillor Lukey.
Yeah, thank you. There's a couple of things, and these were raised previously when we did a little bit more of a look on this. There's in the drawing, the access to the station, that one with the brown and the blue there. Yeah. So we discussed I think you discussed the access to the station, for people with disabilities. But are you aware that that's not being safe? There won't be a lift there, Councillor Garwal?
Yes, I'm aware of that, and they're not going to be providing that. It's not going to be a step-free station.
Okay. We'll pick up on that later with the applicants, perhaps. And the other one was you previously, and you touched upon it as well, the numerous flats here. We did take a walk. I took the opportunity to have a walk with you around Cavendish Gardens. What in your experience as a ward councillor, how well managed are these developments? That within the I think if this goes ahead, it'll probably be nearly about 800 A2 Dominion properties within such a small
between
space.
Cavendish Gardens and this side, there's going to be around about 800 flats, and adjacent to across the road, they have got another block of flats, and then Renfrew Road, Dalcross Road, Renfrew Court, Pool Court, Springwell Court. They all belong to A2, and they are not managed to the standard they should be.
What sort of standard do you expect them to be managed to, and how?
Okay,
what standard are
sorry.
they?
Okay, let's not
sorry,
get into
Councillor
the
Lukey,
management issue.
excuse me, I'm sorry. This is about this application on
Yeah,
this
all
site.
right,
No,
okay.
hold on, Councillor Lukey. We're not here to discuss how other properties are managed in other places. This is about this planning application.
Okay.
I think we've made the point. We understand how the council feels about A2 Dominion on
No, I've got no
management in this
personal
borough,
grudge against
but-
A2 Dominion, but I'm
hold
saying
on.
yes,
I haven't finished. I'm aware this is a live issue. I'm aware it's being talked about elsewhere. I'm aware cabinet members are having conversations with senior people at A2, and that is all happening, and you all know it's happening. But that's not what this meeting is here to discuss. This meeting is here to discuss the merits of this planning application. It's noted, but we need to move on and not have this discussion every time we have an application like this. So let's move on from this point. Councillor Barron.
I just want to very quickly on the parking. It'd be good if when we hear from officers when they come back, we could just hear about CPZs in the rounding area. Just want to give them advance notice of that question if they need to do any clicking.
I haven't finished actually, Chair.
I
hadn't
moved
finished.
us on.
I hadn't finished on my list of questions. Okay, some people have had a second shout at this.
You finish your question, Tony.
Tell me, what do you know about what is not being provided? You said, Councillor Chopra, there are no facilities. I see some facilities there in the application, but what do you think is missing from there for amenities for people that are likely to live in this development if it goes ahead?
I think I've just mentioned earlier, certainly extra GP provisions, dental provisions, anything like that. And yourself?
I've got that. I've got that. The other recreational facilities or the amenity on-site amenity. We've got provision for younger people, I think, or very young people. Although if it's going to be like the ones down at Cavendish Gardens, leave a lot to be desired. But what else is missing? Having looked at the application.
Can I answer this question? Okay,
Quickly,
what it is,
please.
the amenity space is inadequate. There's not enough space there. And even you have been to Cavendish Garden, you've seen yourself what type of spaces are there for kids to play. They've got just blocks of wood. And yeah, so.
Okay, we're going to move on.
Yeah.
We're going to move on. We're not here to talk about Cavendish Garden. We're going to move on to the next segment. Thank you, councillors. Thank you. I'd like to ask Bill Gallop and Changiz Khan to come up to speak.
Evening, everybody.
Welcome to the committee. You will have,
Good evening.
You will have 5 minutes between you.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
From the moment you start speaking.
Yeah,
So-
okay, it's fine. I'm not happy about only having 5 minutes because I think it's more an important issue than deserves more.
Well,
more than
your
5
time
minutes.
has now started, so don't.
Okay, fine. I'd like to thank the two councillors that came in. I'm quite surprised that two councillors have actually spoken up because when I raised the petition and went into the paper about this, I didn't have any support. And only yesterday I got an email from Seema Malhotra after emailing her on the 11th of the 3rd. And yesterday I got an email saying that now they're going to support the against this project. So I've got a couple of points to make. The car park you talked about, when you said that the car park is people coming from the local areas and just using it. Who done the survey on that? Who surveyed? Who questioned the commuters that use it every day and said, "Where do you live?" That's one of my questions because I question a lot of commuters and they come from Staines because there's nowhere at Staines for them to park, so they drive down to Hounslow West. Easy commute into London. So I'd like to ask that question: who surveyed the commuters? The car park is not only just for commuters. The car park is for shoppers and restaurant users. At a weekend, it's free. So people come at the weekend, do their shopping in all the businesses, and they go to a meal in the restaurants. They will now have nowhere to park. So all these businesses and the car and the restaurants will lose out on customers because there's nowhere else down there for anywhere to park. If they try to park down Cavendish Parade, which is chock-a-block day in, day out, trying to get into that little shopping precinct there, there's a queue going back to the ex-Windsor Castle pub. Buses are delayed because people trying to get into that little bit of a car park. So when you take that away, businesses will suffer because people are going to say, well, we'll go somewhere else where we can park. So that's an important thing about the car park. It's not just for commuters, it's about for businesses, small businesses around that area. I've got to say about that. People are talking about the infrastructure, which is absolutely bang on. There's no school places at this moment, as there is. There's no doctors. There's no dentists. You're building 1,500 new homes on the cavalry barracks with scant regard of the people that live in this neighbourhood. People that have lived here for years. I've been in this area for 70 years. I've been a prolific support of Hounslow West for 70 years. And I've seen the deterioration. This is not a regeneration of Hounslow West. This is a deterioration of Hounslow West. And it's going down and down. The crime is now increased by 17–20% over the last year. The streets are filthy, rotten, dirty with the people that are already living here. And you're putting another 1,500 people on 1,500 houses on barracks, 400 houses there. You've got the Bell project. You've got the Earl Hay project. Incidentally, that's not affordable housing. That's £350,000 for a one-bedroom flat. They've sold 20% of them places. The rest are being rented. So all this about affordable housing is rubbish. There's no social housing being built. So people will still not be able to live in these nice little places. They won't be able to afford it. So that's a point on that. But another important thing about infrastructure. Sorry, Mark, I'm going to give you your microphone in a minute. Another important thing about the infrastructure. This was a letter that was posted in the Financial Times in June 2022, and it come from the GLA to developers. A letter from the Greater London Authority, GLA to developers, which was leaked to the Financial Times, details that it may take until 2035 to build the necessary infrastructure to allow more homes to be built in Hillingdon, Ealing and Hounslow. The document states that new developments in those 3 boroughs may have to wait several years to receive new electricity connections. It also reveals that one developer who recently applied to connect to the network was informed that sufficient electrical capacity for a new connection was not available till 2035. So it's not just about schools, it's not just about police. Yeah, all right. No, we've spoken outside here, Tony.
35
All right?
seconds left.
So it's not just about schools on the infrastructure. It's about gas, electricity, water. Where's all this coming from? That's the questions that we're asking. Go, mate. Sorry. It's all right. No, don't worry, Tony. We've sorted it. Before I come in, we sorted it.
Good evening, everyone. So I'm kind of flying on this one actually, because till about a couple of hours ago, I wasn't sure if I was going to be speaking or not. So a couple of things. I'm going to take a different.
I'm afraid your time's up, so you won't be speaking very much, I'm afraid. But it's 5 minutes for everyone. I'm afraid, it's the same. It's the same every meeting. It's the same, and that's the way it is.
At least give him 1 minute.
It's 5 minutes for everyone. If I extend the time, I have to extend the time for the applicants. If the applicants are happy to, if they want more time to speak, then
Just
We could frame it as a question, Chair.
Chair, we can ask questions.
does the applicant, are you happy to agree to for the time being extended? In which case,
Exactly.
I tell you what, I think one way through this is that we're going to go into questions. Members of the committee can ask questions of both of you, and you'll have the opportunity to make the points you want to make in the questions and the answers that you'll give to the questions that members will ask. I hope that makes sense.
I will try.
So, Councillor Todd.
I agree with your decision.
Oh, your mic.
So I'm not going to repeat what everyone else has said, because I second that. I think some of the points I wanted to make, like I said, I was going to take a different angle on this, which is the support I think that the council has given during this development. We all know the noise around this development and the complexities around it. It's going to be a 4-year development. The documentation on the website supplied by ATD, I mean, this is such complex documents. I've read all of them. You can't expect residents to comment and feedback on such a complex development without any support. I called into the council many times to question things, not a single phone call back and not a single email. Even the email about this meeting was sent by an individual email address that went into my junk. I'm surprised there's so many people here. I would have thought people would have missed that email, because I missed it. Even the title didn't make sense. So you should think about.
What are the key points?
Yeah, so the key points I had was one of the documents talks about the construction, the noise levels, the high level of dust. Yet it goes on about, then it goes into the point that, but it's low sensitivity. So it doesn't really make sense to me. The documentation is quite biased. The documentation is very much geared towards the favor of this development, which I find quite confusing. I've not seen any rebuttal documents that talks about the challenges that this type of development will pose. We talk about cost. I mean, I was considering what the cost could be to me. I will live opposite this development. So I have a lot of light currently coming into my property as a consequence of the car park, because it's an open area. The minute we close this area, it will reduce my light. It will increase my cost, because I'll have to leave the lights on in my house. So there is a cost implication to me. There's also a cost implication to me during the development of this construction, with the dust, with the noise. I'm going to have to keep my windows closed. I've got asthma. there's other things that I don't think people think about. We're going through austerity. We talk about sustainable housing, yet this development is not proposing any renewable energy. It's planning to use the grid. So there's no renewable energy, there's no solar. I'm not seeing anything in the documentation that I've seen that talks anything about trying to make the properties sustainable. So it just doesn't make sense to me. Tall buildings, Hounslow West doesn't need those. I mean, this whole idea of a focal point doesn't really make sense to me. The area is highly congested. Adding more properties to the area will make it more congested. It is a transportation hub, but more people, more demand on transportation. So more buses are going to be full, more waiting time. You know, we're already suffering from a lot of this stuff. And then, you know, everyone's spoken about GP services, schools, hospitals, police, crime. So it's a number of things, but I think people undermine the cost implication to local residents by putting in towers such high, reducing light. There's definitely cost implications during the development, after the development.
Councillor Stroud.
Thanks very much for that. We obviously listen to the points you make, and to be fair, every new development that comes before us, we hear very similar points. But I'm sure you appreciate that as a council, we are dealing with a lot of people who have nowhere decent to live. We're dealing with families of 4 or 5 living in one room. That's the balance we're trying to weigh off here. So a lot of these people you're talking about, they're already here. They're already in the borough. They're simply not living in decent accommodation. But that's a comment rather than a question. So you mentioned the rents. Do you know what the rents are for these properties, by the way? Well, the numbers in the thing is £178.23p a week, which is £713 a month. That's a 2-bedroom for benefit people.
And also another thing, if you're talking about a family of 4,
Wait a minute, so where did you get the benefit from? That's not what it says in the report. That is the rent. So hang on a minute. That's what it says in the report.
Right.
The rent is £178.23p a week, which is £713 a month,
right,
which is cheaper than the market rate in Manchester, Liverpool, and Newcastle.
I'm not interested in Manchester, Liverpool, mate. I'm sorry.
We're in London now.
Yeah, we're in Hounslow.
That's
what we're talking about.
Can I finish my question? We're creating property here, sir.
Yeah.
Which is offering hard-pressed families, which your colleague talked about, a cheaper rent than they could get in Manchester. I think, personally, and I thought you'd agree with me, that being able to deliver property at that level of rent in London is an achievement.
Who owns the property that they're renting from? This is supposed to be affordable housing.
I asked you a question, sir. Could you answer it?
No, what was the question?
The question is, do you not think that offering someone a 2-bedroom flat in London for less than the price they can get it in Manchester is an achievement?
I think that's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
All right. Now, No. When you say affordable housing, a family of 4, you tell me a family of 4 around here or anywhere that can afford £350,000 for a 2-bedroom flat.
If we can try and have questions in one go and an answer in one go, and less back and forth. And, you know, I know it's the first time in the chair for me, but please try and go through the chair. That's what I'm here for. The other thing is, we're here to discuss this application and what it's providing and the terms that are discussed in this report. This is not about other developments in the area. If we can please remember that, everyone in the room, this is not comparison. This is not about other developments. It's about the specifics of this application and this report. Who else has a question? Let's move on. Thank you both very much for coming up to speak to us. Thank you. Sorry, I'd like to welcome the applicants up to the table, please. So that's Ajna Farmer and Lauren Patel. Welcome. You have 5 minutes from the moment you start talking.
Thank you, Chair. I'm Lauren Patel from Barton Wilbur and A2D's planning consultant. I'm here with Ange Farmer from TfL. Over the past 2 years, A2D and TfL have worked in partnership to create the exciting plans for Hounslow West Station. The development is a wonderful opportunity to create a sustainable community that retains the iconic Charles Holden Station building at its heart. 100% of the homes will be high quality, much needed affordable housing for Hounslow residents. The ground floor uses and public realm will provide a welcoming, inclusive and safe environment. These, together with substantial station improvements, create significant public benefits. The proposals are also in line with the site's local plan allocation. The scheme has been carefully considered over several years and is supported by the GLA, Historic England and Hounslow officers. Consultation with the DRP has been invaluable. We have also carried out extensive public engagement with 8 in-person public exhibitions, as well as pop-up consultation events in the station itself. We've issued 4 newsletters, set up a website, free post address and phone numbers, and held meetings with ward members. This year, we've received 61 pieces of written feedback, and this has helped inform the ground floor strategy, and which now includes community space, cafes with outdoor seating areas, and space for a supermarket retail unit. Of the 348 homes proposed, 219 will be family-sized. 11% will be wheelchair homes. To meet identified need, Hounslow must deliver 730 new affordable homes each year. This site alone could meet half of Hounslow's annual affordable housing need. 217 homes will be at London affordable rent for those households on Hounslow's housing waiting list, with the remainder shared ownership. All homes will have their own private balcony or garden. The new public realm will provide amenity spaces for use by residents and visitors alike. Communal courtyards will include dedicated equipped play areas for younger children. A2D will also be contributing to provide an adventure trail for older children at Beaversfield Park. Over 100 new trees will also be planted throughout the site. The focal point of the design is the beautiful Charles Holden Station building. High quality materials and finishes will ensure an exemplary scheme. Over to Ange.
Thanks, Lauren. The development paves the way for exciting TfL improvements. The current station walkway needs to be demolished to support housing, creating a rare opportunity for TfL to update the station. The new station, the design future-proofs the station and creates new staff facilities, a walkway connected the listed buildings to the platforms, and also has capacity for future passenger demand. And it also safeguards step-free access. The new bus stop on Vicarage Farm Road reduces congestion on the Bath Road. 190 cycle spaces will be included, but in a secured facility adjacent to the station. The car park, as mentioned earlier, the car park contributes to the congestion and air quality issues on Bath Road. Many users, around 90%, have closer home stations that get them into London. The local area is taking the strain of these users without benefits to the local economy. We propose a short stay car park, including disabled spaces, benefiting the local area. Overall, the car-free development will reduce traffic and improve air quality, key policy across all party manifestos this year. There's been concern over the weekend market. As per the site allocation, it will not be replaced. We've been in constant dialogue with the market operator. They are aware of our aspirations on site, and they're open to discussing nearby market sites and borough holdings with the borough. On step-free access, you want improvements to the current chairlift. TfL hear that. We provide a route to upgrading the step-free access by safeguarding a tested single location as per site policy. This is exciting to us. We work collaboratively with Hounslow officers to put in place a funding agreement that would see delivery with funding during station works. This is how we are committed, ready to act and strategise the future delivery of step-free access. We provide a
30
solution
seconds left.
with a funding agreement that enables all benefits to be realised. TfL and A2D are proud to support the borough in delivering 348 homes. We are proud to make this network more accessible for all, and we are proud to contribute to sustainable, cleaner living in Hounslow. With all this in mind, we encourage members to approve the proposal. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you for your presentation. We will open up to questions. I'm going to go first to Madeira Sim, Councillor Sim.
Thank you very much, Chair. Thank you for your presentation. Local businesses have expressed real concern that the influx of new tenants will have on their resources as well as on the existing infrastructure. How can you convince us, or what adequate provisions have you provided to help enhance the existing infrastructure?
We will be providing Section 106 contributions to meet any site-specific infrastructure needs. The site is also allocated as one of the strategic growth sites within the borough, which obviously is taken into account in the SIL monies that are allocated. So we would expect SIL obviously to pay for new infrastructure where required as well. We've also supported our application by a health impact assessment. This concludes that there are some capacity at local GP surgeries within a 2K radius of the site. In terms of education, I think that's largely dealt with within the committee report, which sets out that there is a decline in pupil levels in some of the local schools. We are also proposing flexible ground floor uses within the site itself, which could either be commercial or could be community provision. So we are potentially allowing for some community provision in the site itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Barron.
Thanks for that. I just want a few questions on the step-free access. You're using a lot of very professional terms about safeguarding the future and the potential. The problem is I don't understand what you mean. So could you tell me what level of step-free access is being provided and what we mean by safeguarding the future of step-free access?
Thank you for your question. So TfL already considers this site to have step-free access, and we completely accept it might not be usable for all user groups. So what we would be planning to do with the step-free access funding agreement and in life with a policy on the site, which I can come back to, we would be looking at the same time as station improvements to upgrade that to a lift location. And it's cited actually on the plans just that you can see. So it's the left-hand side staircase. The site allocation asked us, and it's been an ongoing discussion with Hounslow over the past probably 5+ years, is to actually enable step-free access for the future, so the future provision. What that means is this application is only bound to actually safeguard or earmark a location that can only be used for step-free access in the future. Obviously, what we're trying to do with this funding agreement is really commit ourselves to delivering step-free access with station works.
So are you telling me you're building space for a lift, but not an actual lift? Is that?
So when we by safeguard, we basically allocate that space. We allocate that space to step-free in the future. The step-free access funding agreement allows us a route to be building that as part of the application timescale of construction.
Thank you. Councillor Nagra.
Hi, good evening. It's basically, I have just one question. You know that Hounslow West is already a very crowded area. Why you haven't think any other suitable location for this development when it's already a lot of flats running built on this area? What the thing is appealed to you just build this development on this station? Can you just please let me know?
This site has been earmarked for development since 2015, since the local plan was adopted. It is an existing site allocation. It has been tested by officers through the local plan process and deemed to be an ideal site for redevelopment. It does sit very close. The station is within the site. It is a highly sustainable location. It is a very good location for people to live, to get into London to work. It is a good site for development. It is also brownfield, so it takes pressure off more sensitive green sites potentially being developed as well.
Councillor Stratton.
Thank you very much. I think you're probably listening to the earlier debate that the sense coming from people in the area is one of their major objections, and indeed from the councillors, was the crime element. The report talks, and I appreciate, as some of the residents said, wading through these reports is is not an easy task. But can you talk us through the principle of designing out crime, which is mentioned, and also the provision of CCTV, and how in your, and it's obviously going to be an opinion or be backed up with an element of objective view, that it will help design out crime and allay the fears that you heard from some of the residents, please?
Yes, of course. Thank you for your question. We've worked very hard with officers over the last year to ensure that the site is a safe site, and sorry, with Hounslow's officers through the pre-application discussions. We've made sure there's no dark corners within the design itself. We've made sure all the amenity areas and the public realm are very well overlooked by all the ground floor uses, as well as all the residential properties above. There are no hidden corners in this development at all. We've also the designing out crime officer has also been consulted through the application and has absolutely no concerns. He has recommended a condition be imposed, which we accept on the development, which makes sure that we meet secure by design objectives. And post determination, we would have to submit our application to discharge that and make sure that the designing out crime officer is happy with what we're proposing.
Thank you. Councillor Atwell here.
Right. If this development goes through, I need to go to Buckingham Palace to meet the new king. I have a disability. I can't walk. I have a blue badge. How will you get me into the station?
So if you are going to use the blue badge spaces at the basement level, there will be a lift up to ground floor level where you can then access the station at the front from Bath Road. With the improvements and with the step-free access, hopefully improved with the station works, there will be a direct access point down to the platforms.
You said hopefully, will that be working at all times? Because obviously Hounslow West is a busy station.
Yeah, so if we do deliver step-free access, which is our full commitment and full intention to, along with the station works, there will be platform access for you to continue your trip onto the platform.
Okay, thank you. And then also the consultation for the site was around about 2.5 years ago, just before COVID. Didn't you think to have one sort of more recent? Because obviously there was a poor turnout and a lot of residents are saying that they didn't get a chance to come along or raise any questions, hence why we've got so many questions now as it's come to committee today.
Yeah, I can answer that one. We did carry out public consultation at both the Kingsway Banqueting Hall and the Treaty Shopping Centre pre-COVID. We have also carried out further exhibitions this year. In March of this year, in 2022, we carried out public exhibitions again in Kingsway Banqueting Hall and the Treaty Shopping Centre. We also then carried out further public consultation and a further exhibition around the same time we submitted in October, on the 1st and 2nd of October 2022. So we have done a lot this year. For all of those public exhibition events, we circulated over 2,000 updated newsletters to nearby households to let them know what we were doing and to invite them to the consultation. We've also done 4 station pop-up events, both in the mornings and in the evenings within the station this year as well, to encourage local people passing through to talk to us about the development too. I think just this year we've had 61 pieces of written feedback from residents in response to those events. So we have done a lot this year. There has been a lot of consultation.
Because my only concern is that a lot of residents have got back in touch with us saying they haven't been to any of these, and that's why we're here today with such a good turnout. There's just a bit of concern.
Thank you. Councillor Lukey, then Councillor Todd.
Thank you. I really want to come back to this Jam Tomorrow lift. Tell us, can you describe the station works? What are the station works, and when will they be taking place? You mentioned enable it in the future. Look, I know about enabling. You build a lift, you build the brickwork and the concrete shaft, but the things that cost and that are important in a lift is the mechanism, and the car to take you from one level to another. The lift. Tell me why you think that the current service is adequate. That is something that we as a council put in about 1986 from Dave Wetzel, who became chair of transport at the GLA. But it doesn't appear that you don't appear that committed. I would say to put in a lift in.
Okay, I'm going to take each of your points separately, councillor, if that's all right. So the station works themselves, as we can see on the screen. I'll go through it actually sequentially, as if you're doing your journey. You'll come into Bath Road. The actual listed station will be reformatted to its original layout, so you see the full potential of the listed Holden station. You'll pass over the gate line, which actually is going to be improved. We are adding in 2 gate lines, and those have been tested and trialled with our LU engineers. We will then walk down a newly constructed walkway, similar to the ones that you'll see in London with our corporate logos and so on. You'll get to the end where you're now towards the station platforms. Our commitment is to put the step-free access into the left-hand side staircase. Again, been tested by LU engineers, who have reduced 6 options down to 1. So there's been thorough testing on where step-free access happens. The site policy here, like we mentioned before, is about enabling the future provision of step-free access, which this application does. It safeguards that one location. Where we go beyond is we've recognised that we have heard that there's a requirement to upgrade that step-free access, and we throw our hands up to say the current provision doesn't meet every user group. So it's still defined as step-free access, but we understand that it doesn't meet every user group. The way that we can commit to it is that step-free access funding agreement, and we're poised. That agreement's with Hounslow's officers right now. We're poised to start that if there's a positive decision tonight. So that's our commitment. We are ready. We've tested.
Okay, so if it's poised, if it does go ahead today, if you do get permission today, and it's poised and it's signed, when will the station works take place, and when will the lift go in and operate from? Hang on. When will the lift go in and operate from surface level down to platform level? When?
Okay, so our station improvements will be starting around this time next year, subject to positive approval today, and it's due to complete the station works at July 25. With the current programme, and very much subject to the approval tonight and the speed at which the step-free access funding agreement, which sits with Hounslow officers, can get signed, we are ready to move, and that would then ensure that the step-free access is delivered within 12 months of station improvements completing.
Thank you.
Sorry, hang on.
Oh, that's
sorry,
fine,
Chair. So the lift won't be if it was approved tonight, the lift won't be in operation until July 2026 then?
That's correct.
Right, okay, you should have said that. Yeah.
Can I just quantify that as well? So what we are looking for is that signature from Hounslow officers to commit to that funding agreement. That then requires 12 months of detailed design to make sure the solution is properly integrated to the station, to technical, to M&E, and that's what takes us between 9 to 12 months to finalise design. And then, while station works are committed, we use the same team to get moving, to get delivering.
Just to clarify, maybe one for officers, is this what the deferred powers that are included in actual officers to sort out post application is about? No? Okay. Let's move on. Councillor Todd.
Thanks very much. I think it's a bit of a cheek relying on a 2019 traffic survey for the car park, don't you?
I'll take that one. So we did an independently assessed 2019 survey. The sentiment that we've had from our transport assessors is actually the occupation of the station has negatively changed. So actually the car parking survey from 2019 has actually, what's the word I'm looking for, has data that is probably far beyond the current requirements.
So it's a sweeping statement. You're saying that the world hasn't changed since 2019?
No, this is exactly what I mean. So the pandemic has changed people's behaviours, and so the occupancy rate of the car park has changed negatively in the sense that not many people, as 2019, are occupying and using the car park.
Okay, you've given a contribution of £200,000 towards a step-free access. What's the actual cost of putting a lift in?
It's
over £1 million, yes?
It's over £1 million, far over £1 million. It's
So
£5
where does that
million
money
pound-
come from?
It's £5 million. So the step-free access funding agreement, as per the cabinet paper in Jan 22, at the moment commits to £1 million of seal monies from the borough to support the delivery or design of step-free access. We would be coming back every year, subject to funds, to assess our need and ask the borough for further funds.
Big hole to fill, isn't it?
It's big ask, we understand that it is a lot of money, but actually when you talk about step-free access with rail infrastructure, this is a very typical cost. The benefit actually being, I understand it sounds like a large number, but that actually has the benefit of station delivery and contractors being on at the same time. There's actually efficiencies with our design team that actually have reduced that down to £5 million.
My colleagues asked about medical provision, and you didn't mention, I think it's fair to mention that, as I understand it, Chair, you're making a contribution of 900,000 towards the redevelopment of the local health centre. Is that correct?
We have been requested to make a contribution towards healthcare from the ICB. Yes, we haven't received their calculations of how they got to that figure, in all honesty, and we would like to see those before we commit to that amount. But in principle, we have no objection to making a contribution towards healthcare provision.
One more.
This is probing questions, aren't you? Okay. Your report highlights how poor your daylight and sunlight figures are. So I'm looking at page 53 of the report. Only 76% of the rooms meet the minimum target, and dealing with sunlight, there's a deficiency with 38%. Is that cut price architecture, poor design, or what?
No, it's actually quite a normal. It passes. That's a pass rate, and that's quite normal in such constrained urban environments such as this. For London, that's a good rate of daylight sunlight level.
Sorry, I think we're going to have to move on. Councillor Lau, final question.
Sure, Chair. Earlier on, we heard from councillors and the other objectors about congestion. So there were conflicting views as to whether this development will increase congestion or reduce congestion on the highway. So since we got the TfL lady there, would you like to have the opportunity to elaborate on that?
Thank you, councillor. So how we perceive this and how we really thoroughly believe this car park contributes to the congestion and poor air quality on Bath Road. As mentioned before, the reduction of car parking will actually see an improvement on the congestion on the Bath Road and has a direct impact on the air quality. We've had assessments on that done, which are a part of the pack that was submitted. I think we just want to realign here that we are all in agreement at TfL and A2D that there is going to be an improvement of the congestion on Bath Road and an improvement on air quality without this car park. We also, as TfL, we are always encouraging sustainable travel, which means the reduction of the impact of the car, which means congestion goes, which means air quality is improved. It's also mandated by the Mayor's transport strategy to actually, reduce the impact of a car again, to also improve air quality. And I do also believe that's part of your pillars within your ambitious for Hounslow manifesto. So I do think that we are ticking a lot of boxes here. The reduction in car spaces is going to directly improve congestion and also air quality. If we look at the potential saving of how other cars on the road, we could potentially say between 3 to 350 each way direction traffics at peak time, morning and evening. Cumulatively across the year, that's a huge impact on congestion.
Thank you. Did you want one more? Go on, then everyone else has had one.
So, yet again, just to elaborate and give you the opportunity, One of the other main contentions was, and it's already been alluded to earlier by other councillors, but again, I want you to give you the really good opportunity to either agree or rebut it. And it seems to me that there was a great deal of focus on the consultation. It seems to me, I get the impression that it could have been better. What do you have to say about that?
We have carried out a lot of events. It hasn't been easy during COVID. We did try and do an online event during COVID. That didn't work very well, admittedly, which is why we came back and did the more in-person events this year. We have carried out a lot of consultation compared to a lot of other developments that you would normally see before you. For public exhibitions over a 2-year period is a fair amount of events, as are 4 station pop-ups, an online consultation event, a website, 4 newsletters, distribution to 2,000 households. I'm not quite sure what more we could do.
Thank you. Thank you for coming up to speak. Thank you. I'm going to hand back now to the officers to go through in more detail on the application.
Thank you, Chair. So I think broadly, I'll skip through a number of the issues raised. The height of the buildings, amenity space, light, privacy, infrastructure, congestion and such. And I think broadly the suggestion, the concern is that there's too many homes being proposed on this site. I think that's probably fair to say. And that's obviously been coming out in the arguments already. So sorry, you've heard me say this many times before. I'm going to say it again. We have statutory housing targets, 18,000 new homes over the next 10 years. It's obviously really difficult to achieve. These are imposed on us. This is from the London Plan. We don't have any choice about doing this. It's for us to wrestle with those figures and find the right location for them. So the need of new homes is obviously really important. We have tried to identify sites to achieve that target. This is one of the sites that has been identified within our local plan. So we've been through that process. But it's not just the need for new homes. This is a sustainable location. This is above a tube, directly above a tube line. If it's going to take an air quality and climate change agenda seriously, then this is the exact location where you should be looking to put new homes. There should be reduced reliance on cars as a result of this scheme. And then obviously, as again, you're picking up on, this is an entirely affordable home scheme. So it's not just affordable as well. I think this is perhaps the most number of affordable homes we've presented to you for a significant number of years, and a significant number of affordable rent homes as well. So again, that discussion has been had out. The figures in the committee report are the how much a person would have to pay for those units. So I think those 3 things are really key. So you are in effect looking at a planning balance of where you think the harm is versus this crushing need for new homes and affordable homes in the borough. Notwithstanding that, obviously there are things that we can do about concerns at the same time. So concerns about parking displacement onto surrounding streets. We were asked for a slide or something on that. Hopefully we'll have something, because I didn't do it, sorry, Kieran. But CPZs are there to mitigate that harm, and there is a Section 106 clause that seeks to review the CPZ arrangement and perhaps extend it or alter it to address the needs of the site. The clinical commissioning group, so in terms of hospital, have been consulted, and they have got back to us and suggested that the scheme is acceptable subject to this contribution that's been discussed. School place need has been discussed, but again, I think as detailed in the report, there is not the need for new school places. That's something that we are well aware of, because that's one of our statutory functions as a council. Crime's been mentioned, and again, as has been mentioned, we consult with the police. So the designing out crime officer has been discussed. They do not object to the scheme. There are conditions attached to this application that would require them to meet the standard of designing out crime. So we're as satisfied as we can be that that won't be a problem. And in terms of amenity space, again, the report sets out there is a shortfall of amenity space for the over 5, still young people. But again, so we've secured a provision to improve Beaversfield Park. There is a master plan around Beaversfield Park to improve it. And so you can offset that level of mitigation at the same time. So we're suggesting as part of the report, it's the need for new homes there. It's really pressing. I'm afraid that's not going to go away. And we believe that outweighs the concerns that have been raised. Step-free access has come up. So from our perspective, yes, there is still contributions and a funding agreement in place for the first section of that. We don't have in front of us the map out to exactly how that step-free access is secured. But from this planning application perspective, it's obviously we can secure contributions towards it, but we can't actually secure the step-free access as part of the scheme. We've explored this fully. We've had legal advice on this. It would not be legally compliant to have a step-free access secured as part of the Section 106 agreement. So that's why there is the Section 106 clause that says to make reasonable endeavours to achieve the step-free access, not actually securing it itself. I think I've covered most of the points I was hoping to, so maybe we could leave it to questions if that's okay.
Thank you. Questions for officers? You're all questioned out. No? Okay. Councillor Lukey.
Really want to better understand this safeguarding and the station works and enabling. Yeah, the TfL representative said, if it's approved, then something will be signed, and it will be and it'll take place with the station works, and it'll be ready by 2025. You're telling us something different. What is the well, how can we understand about safeguarding, because we've safeguarded space at other stations in the borough for lifts, and they've eventually appeared, or maybe one of them's appeared and the other one's on its way in the station that I know. But why are you telling us that what you're not? I hope you're not calling the TfL rep a fibber.
No, I'm obviously not calling her a favour. The agreement in place is the first step. So I think it's the first £1 million that we're talking about. So that's secured through SIL. And then obviously we've got the clause in the Section 106 agreement for the figure, which I've forgotten, sorry, off the top of my head, but to secure funding towards it. And then obviously, as you're aware, we've had the £208,000. And then the Cavalry Barracks, again, that's been part of the funding as well. So the Section 106 of that. So there is a route being created here towards securing the step-free access.
But it's not. Sorry, but it's not confirmed though. We're not gonna get a lift. It's not definite that we'll get a lift in July 2025. It could be a long time. It could be a long time away. Further than that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to lie that, but we can't physically secure the step-free access as part of this scheme. So no, it's not secured as part of the scheme. No.
Okay, I just want to ask about Beaversfield Park as well. This commuting of facility money, on-site facility money, and how much are we looking at for Beaversfield Park, and how much does that, and is that in addition to the Cavalry Barracks? I wasn't here for the Cavalry Barracks discussion, so what would that total?
Yeah, so that's £30,000 as part of this one. I forget the actual sum for Cavalry Barracks. Sorry. 1.5 million, thank you. And then there's actually a master plan that the council is leading on. So we have our own master plan for Beaversfield Park, and then obviously Section 106 has to offset potential issues with the current application. So they have focused that £30,000 on improving the children's play-based facilities in Beaversfield Park.
Okay, now, okay, all right. Look. There are. I was looking at the mayor's housing strategy implementation plan, which I couldn't quite find his guidance, but he mentions that there should be policies to ensure that new development is supported by adequate social infrastructure. We haven't really. Yeah, 30 grand is perhaps not adequate when we're talking about the older ones. And there should be safe and convenient pedestrian access from every dwelling to communal spaces of good and usable aspect and quality. I don't think that's necessarily covered here, but perhaps you can advise. He said he's going to use his powers to apply the zero carbon target to all major developments, promoting cleaner heating solutions. I can't see that here either in this application. And the other one, and I'm not going to be shot down by the chair on this, but there is policy on management of buildings, whoever it is, whether it's A2 Dominion, Notting Hill, Catalyst, Shepherd's Bush, whoever it is. But how do we, where are the clauses here to ensure good good management of these developments, and that they don't turn into slums for the slums of the future.
So route to the park. Did you want to cover that one, Kieran? Sorry.
Yeah, they're relocating they're proposing to relocate the pedestrian crossing along Bath Road to provide a probably a more direct route to Beaversfield Park. But as you'll see from one of the bullet points in the addendum, that still has to be a stage 1 road safety audit still has to be undertaken on the design, which is we would require before we'd be comfortable to support it as transport officers.
The net zero question, I forget exactly what it was. I think, was it 51% carbon reduction? Sorry, 54% carbon reductions, and then it's net zero. So carbon offset fund contribution. So they have got air source heat pumps, they have got solar panels. So that's the route through to carbon neutral that the mayor has an adopted policy on. So the adopted policy does include the carbon offset fund as achieving net zero. And then the management, it's again it's not a planning issue. Sorry, so we can't consider the management of those units as part of this planning application.
I'm going to move on, Tony. You can come back round. I just want to get some other councillors in first. Councillor Barron.
Thank you, Chair. So actually a couple of questions, if that's all right. So the first one's around the parking, the car park, and the congestion. I really want to just drill down a little bit more into, people are saying we're going to get more congestion if we get rid of the car park. People are saying we're going to get less congestion in the car park. I'd just love to hear just a little bit more on that in terms of kind of data. Also, people are worried about the car park being removed and that resulting in displaced parking on nearby streets. So I'd just love to hear your opinion on that and how that relates with CPZs. And then thirdly, this question of the market, which came up earlier, but it feels that we've sort of drifted away from it. But as I understand, the market is a very important community asset. Sorry, did I steal your question, Councillor? It's a very important community asset, and it's a very important part of kind of micro enterprises. So what is the strategy for finding a different and suitable location for the market?
I'm just trying to find the section in the report, but yeah, just by virtue of the long stay parking being removed, as I said before, there will be fewer vehicle trips on Bath Road. Well, the trip generation exercise anticipates to be fewer trips on vehicle trips on Bath Road in the AM peak, PM peak, and throughout the course of the day, 100 fewer vehicles. I wouldn't say that there'd be less congestion, however, because it still has to be demonstrated by the applicant, and that's another bullet point in the addendum, that the changes to the bus stops on Bath Road won't cause additional queuing, or that any of the changes that they're proposing won't cause additional queuing, which obviously leads to congestion and a reduction in air quality. So even though there's fewer trips, it still has to be demonstrated that that won't lead to congestion by virtue of the changes to the bus stops. And then in terms of the CPZs in the streets, there are some streets within 150 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, which is a comfortable walking distance for anybody who really needs to get to Hounslow West station and would want to park on an unrestricted road. So such as Francis Road and Manor Avenue, and I think up to north, the slip road on Great West Road. It is unrestricted currently, so we are securing £50,000 contribution to consult on a CPZ for those streets if residents wish for one or petition us for one, and it could be also used to review streets that already have a CPZ, because the street CPZ is only operational 9:30 to 5:30 Monday to Friday, and I think half day on Saturday, so people could potentially park in those streets later on a Saturday or on a Sunday and travel from Hounslow West, causing inconvenience to residents. So if residents were minded to, the contribution could be used to consult on extending the CPZ hours in the existing CPZs.
So on the market, again, it's an issue with providing all of these new affordable homes on site. It's obviously a site allocation, so essentially it's been planned out, which is an awful way of putting it. The best that we can do, the best that we can secure under the planning regime is to just put that condition in to make sure that the best endeavours are made by the applicants to find a relocation, provide a relocation strategy for that market. So no, it doesn't actually definitively say that market will move to a different location, but we at best use the tools that we've got available to us to ensure that takes place through the planning system.
Thank you, Councillor Stroud-Tutt.
Thank you very much. Just returning to the point that some of my colleagues have raised, the step-free access, and I think one of my colleagues called it jam tomorrow. But notwithstanding that the mayors, I think, pledged an additional funding to step-free access, what are the chances, and you may not be able to answer this, of Hounslow West becoming step-free anytime soon without the impetus that this scheme would give it? Do you have a feel for that?
Oh, I mean, I think it's probably fair to say that without the funding that's secured as part of this, and refusing it doesn't improve the chances of giving step-free access. If that's the way you want me to put it, it's obviously refusing this application. As what I'm saying, so refusing this application obviously gives you less chance of achieving step-free access, is the way that I'd put it. So whereas we can't give definitive evidence that it will be provided as part of the scheme, refusal of the application is certainly not providing the scheme, but it's obviously reducing the chances of step-free access on the site.
So effectively, whilst it's not guaranteed, whilst there is an element of jam tomorrow, it's better than nothing, is your assessment?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Any more questions, anyone? Councillor Lukey? No? Okay. That's it? No, I'll wait. And that's great. Thank you very much. We'll move on to discussion and debate on the application. And if I may, as chair, I'd like to start by saying there's been a lot talked about tonight, but I simply cannot remember the last time this committee, I don't know if it's ever had the opportunity as a committee before to consider a 100% affordable scheme. Well, normally I hear arguing about 35%. So I know that weighs heavily in my thoughts tonight, but I'll hand it open to everybody else to say what they want to say.
Sorry, Chair, just to clarify, you've only been a councillor for 6 months. There have been previous 100% schemes.
Everyone's ready to go to a vote then? Councillor Barron.
Yeah, Chair, I'd just like to say there's, I think it's clear there are kind of compromises on this project. There are things that aren't perfect. But I think the overwhelming thing for me is the 100% affordable. And I don't see any strong enough planning grounds for this to be refused. And I'd be concerned if we did refuse it without strong planning grounds in terms to the liability that would open us up to in the future legally, losing control of conditions and the control of the SIL in the S106.
Are you proposing something?
I propose we approve.
Do we have a seconder? Okay, we'll put it to a vote. We have a proposal for Councillor Stroud-Tutt. So we have a recommendation. Well, have a proposal. We have a seconder. We have a vote. This is all in favour of the motion.
Sorry, Chair. Just want to clarify. I came late, so
Sorry,
I'm not able to take part.
You're not able to
take
take
just
part.
wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Oh, I am going to vote. I almost forgot. All those against? Thank you, councillors. That application is approved. What's that? Oh, subject to, what's it subject to? Sorry.
Listed building consent as well, and to you redelegate. I think that's embedded in the
Yeah.
So it's a listed building consent.
Okay, we're going to have a 5-minute recess.
This is to building consent as well.
So, okay. So we're okay. We need to go through the building consent application now. So we need a motion to approve it. Yeah. Sorry, listed building consent. Tanya knows what's going on. Do we have a? No, no one's missing. Do we have a proposer? Councillor Brown, do we have a seconder? Councillor Lau.
Sorry, Wendy.
We need our. We jumped the gun. We need our. We need Wendy. We need our Wendy, basically. Are you going to take? Sorry, to clarify, we're now voting on the listed
First
building
one was
consent.
approved, and now we're voting on the second one.
What page is?
What page is the listed building consent on?
Sorry if I can clarify. So what has happened is we've wrapped two applications into once, which we often do. Sorry for not explaining this properly. But essentially what it is planning approval is required for the wider scheme, the new homes. But because the underground station is a listed building, and as we were saying, there's some works proposed to the station, so it's a removal of that concourse. So it needs an additional application which runs alongside the planning application for works to the listed building specifically. So we are asking you to vote on now the specific works to the listed building, not the wider scheme, which is
So we're just voting to say it's okay.
Are you okay with the works
it's
to the listed
okay
building?
to do the work on the listed building.
Yeah.
I'm glad we got that cleared up. Would someone like to propose? Councillor Bowring, would you? Seconded by Councillor Stroud-Turp. Shall we take a vote? All in favour of? Any against? Any abstaining? 2, 3? Yeah, okay. 3. Thank you, councillors. Thank you for your patience at the end. And I know that got a little bit messy. I'm just going to wait and see what they're talking about here for a second.
Ask Mr. Rees a question. Yeah, just approve the heritage aspect. Shouldn't there be reports from officers supporting that decision, from the conservation officer and others?
Of course, if you wanted to expand on it, so the heritage aspects were covered in that long report. I get that. So yeah, I mean, if that's the request, yeah, we'll split them both out. So we split the recommendation at the end just to make it shorter, to be honest, because it gets a very cumbersome report. But if it's confusing, yeah, definitely we'll just.
No,
okay.
can I put that in context? That aspect is missing from another application that was held tonight that's been deferred. And I just think it's maybe a useful precedent that I'm not criticising. No, okay, but am I right? In, a member of the public's pointed out to me, I'm repeating myself, that there should be 2 supporting reports with this separate application. Is that factually correct or not?
No, I mean, there needs to be 2 separate recommendations. To wrap them into one report is okay, but then so you would expect a section in that report that does deal with heritage matters. So if we haven't made that clear, then we'll endeavour to make it clear for next time.
Sorry, I'd agree with that. Particularly at the Griffin Brewery. Particularly at the Griffin Brewery application, yes, it might be suitable to have a barrier there, but the Mickey Mouse barrier that's been proposed, yeah, that's something that requires a separate discussion on, perhaps, when an application comes in, and maybe that would be reflected in the when it comes back to the committee again.
Chair, did you say we're going to have a 5-minute break? It's 9 o'clock.
I'm going to offer it. I think that's. Would someone like to propose to suspend standing orders first? There's only one other item on the agenda tonight, but I'm conscious it was a long first session. Councillor Bowen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's suspended. 5-minute recess. We'll come back. So I'll wait for everyone to take their seats, but if you could do that quickly, and then we'll move on to the next item. Needs to be in a seat before I start. Let's take a seat. Okay, we're now going to move on to item 5, which is land at Nursery Close, Feltham. And I'm now going to hand over to the officers.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening, councillors and colleagues. I'll try to keep this brief, so just go through the presentation. The application site is located on Nursery Close off Fern Grove in Feltham. Feltham Town Centre is approximately 500 metres to the south. Gleeblands Playing Fields to the west, Coningston House Lodge to the south, and housing to the east. The site is currently occupied by 11 garages and a car park. The application seeks planning permission to redevelop this garage site to provide a Part 1, Part 3-storey residential development comprising 10 flats with associated cycle and waste storage, landscaping, and 1 blue badge space. The proposal would provide 10 social rent homes, of which 1 accessible M4-free dwelling is provided at ground floor, with the remaining dwellings meeting Part M42, with the potential to be adapted. The lobby and the stair core also contains a lift to allow this. Each dwelling has access to a balcony or rear garden and or the communal amenity garden. The internal layouts of the flats are functional and all dwellings meet or exceed internal space standards. The dwellings have adequate passive ventilation, internal daylight, window privacy, and avoid overheating. The site is a short distance from the Gleeblands Playing Fields. The approved phases 1, 2, and 3 of the Fern Grove developments secured improvements to the park, and the development would reinforce the new pedestrian and cycle link into the park. The building is oriented to provide an active frontage onto Nursery Close. This also helps to provide that passive surveillance along this route, and also on the Fern Grove side, just reinforcing that link into the park, which you've talked about. The development is a highly sustainable scheme, achieving a 99.8% reduction in carbon emissions. The residual carbon would be suitably offset with a small contribution. The development has in terms of the allocation of amenity space, it's an uneven distribution. However, given the close proximity to the Gleeblands Playing Fields, there wouldn't be any unacceptable impact on the living conditions of future occupants or to the wider area. The building is set back from the street and there's adequate landscaping around the building, providing that surveillance again, and a comfortable sense of approach onto that active frontage onto Nursery Close. The proposal would result in the loss of the garage and the parking, and there would be some displacement. However, the London plan specifies that the starting point for all developments should be car-free, particularly within sustainable locations. This site has a PTAL of 4, which is rated as good. That PTAL increases towards the Feltham Town Centre, with the boundary of the Feltham Town Centre being 500 metres away and the boundary for Feltham Station being 200 metres away. Overall, officers are recommending approval of the scheme. It is considered that the benefits outweigh the distribution of the amenity space, and there is no unacceptable impact on neighbouring properties given the orientation of neighbouring blocks. The proposal provides an adequate internal layout in terms of its space standards, and it provides much needed affordable housing at the most appropriate, generally affordable housing type, which is social rent, with the three types being London affordable rent, living rent, and social rent. This application is being presented to councillors because it's a major development and requires a legal agreement. So I'll just stop there and open up for questions.
Open to questions. Councillor Lukey.
Thanks for that. A number of garages being demolished in order to build this. How many people from Nursery Close occupy a garage there? Have a tenancy on a garage, and where would, if they use it for their cars, where will they park otherwise?
We haven't been provided with the information on who the garages are let to or what they're used for. However, parking does occur in front of the garages, which suggests they're not being used for parking, and also because of the size of the garages, that they're not conducive to parking a modern car in, and they're quite narrow. So parking does occur in front of the garages, but also there's the parking area to the north as well, which is marked out for 10 parking bays, and they unfortunately will have to be displaced onto the surrounding roads, where parking stress is already quite high. It's excessive. In a transport study, parking stress study that was done in 2018, which the applicant is relying on. So to mitigate that, we're seeking a contribution for to impose CPZs. Well, not to impose the CPZ, but if residents request a CPZ, that we'd look to put one in, we'd consult on one and potentially implement a CPZ on those streets to help mitigate the impact.
Thanks, because otherwise there's a fair bit of commuter parking there.
Councillor Barron.
So on the question of amenity space, we've referenced Fern Grove. Can you just clarify what's available there to the public or to the new inhabitants? Yeah.
Okay, so just within the proposed development or within the wider area?
So in the wider area, there's obviously if you want to, maybe for other members to clarify the parks, but just what's a Fern Grove is what I'm particularly interested in.
So to the west of the site, there's the Glebens playing fields. As part of the previously approved phases, so phase 2, which was approved in 2019, a contribution was made for improvements to the park to provide play space to improve the link to the park, so pedestrian and cycle link. This site would help to reinforce that link. So there's that amenity space at the Glebens playing fields, and also the park to the north, so Feltham North Park, which is near so that's also another park which provides play space and equipment, for example, cages, open space. And so those are the local facilities which are available. And this application, because it has a dominance of smaller units, so 60% are 1 beds, the local plan defines family size units as those providing 2 bedrooms for people occupied units. So given that and the existing contributions which have been secured, it's considered that the close proximity to the Glebens playing fields and the site is acceptable. The site itself also has communal amenity space, 72 square meters, all accessible to all of the units. There is an uneven distribution in amenity space, and those are largely allocated to the wheelchair accessible dwelling, as well as the 2-bed 4 dwelling at the rear. Those being the largest units on the ground floor, in terms of the allocation to those units itself is considered acceptable. There is that uneven distribution which you mentioned. The units above, they have private access to a balcony and the communal space on the ground floor. And given the close proximity to the Glebens playing fields and the Feltham North Park as well, it's considered that there is opportunities for recreation within the area which would cover the shortfall.
So the references to Fern Grove is there's not actual amenity space at Fern Grove. It's contributions from the Fern Grove project to the nearby parks.
That's right. So the approved Fern Grove developments, phases 1, phases 2, and phases 3. So phase 1 has been completed. Phases 2 and 3 are at an advanced stage of construction. They have their own private amenity space. There's also amenity space on the roof terraces at phase 2.
But that the people who living in this development will be able to use that.
No, so that's specifically for those developments.
Just on that, isn't there a gate from that Fern Grove development into Cleveland's?
So there's an additional link which is secured via the Fern Grove phase 2, which is along the. Let me just go through. Yeah. There we are. So that's the new link which is being created, which is secured under phase 2. So that's providing a improved pedestrian and cycle route into the park. So this development, when seen in the context of the phase Fern Grove developments, would be unlocking that additional access and that improved link. That is what we're working on in terms of the Section 278 agreement, which is undergoing in terms of the improvements onto that highway.
So people living in this development will be able to access Cleveland's through that shortcut.
Yes.
Okay, and therefore easy to get to the station probably.
Yep. So that will provide an additional route into the park and then obviously access to the wider area and the Felton Town Centre.
All right. Cheers, Mark.
Can I make a recommendation?
Please do.
Recommend that we approve this project.
Do we have a seconder? Harleen? Sorry, Councillor Atwell here. Fine, then we have a recommendation to approve. All in favour? Any against, any abstentions? That is passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you. Thank you, committee.
Congratulations, Chair.
Hear, hear.
I think there's a couple of bits to finish. So any other business? Not that I think that there should be. And then the date of the next meeting is the 12th of January, 2023.
Sorry.
Thank you all.